Marianne Sunseri. I got my master's degree here from San Jose State University. I also got bachelor's degrees in psychology and communication studies, but I obviously decided to stay with communication studies. So here on campus I have a couple of different roles. The first is that I am a lecturer in communication studies. I also work with our speech and debate team as a coach, and I do volunteer a little bit on campus. I've been working with our mobile food pantry that meets once a month to give students free food, essentially. So what made me start teaching? I actually didn't really want to be a teacher when I started teaching. I did it because it was part of my graduate work and the option was to teach while you were taking classes, so I did. Even when I was no longer a graduate student, I wasn't really enthusiastic about teaching. The funny thing is I actually grew to like teaching more as time went on. So it's not that I felt passionate about it at the very beginning. In fact, it felt weird because I wasn't passionate about it, but I did like doing it. So the passion and the comfort actually grew the more time I spent teaching and the more classes that I taught. Just the overall experience of it made me like it even more. So that's how I got into teaching and how I actually developed a love for it. So what I enjoy most about teaching communication studies is also linked to what I liked about communication studies as a student, because communication studies was a major that I chose after I'd already chosen another major. So I think what I appreciated about communication studies as a student is that it's so practical. It applies to so many areas of my life, not just in terms of like the workplace, but also personal life and interactions with friends and family, those sorts of things, and just interactions with media. And so as a teacher, I really appreciate that because it gives myself and students an opportunity to investigate those things, not just like learning about different theories, but also seeing how they're playing out in our everyday lives. And that makes for an opportunity for students to share their perspective on things, because in a lot of ways there are really no wrong answers in some ways. So I really appreciate that aspect of communication studies. For me, it's always going to go back to effective communication in so many different areas. And so I think that ranges across the different classes, and I love being able to have those conversations with students. So typically here at San Jose State, I teach mostly 100W, which is the writing seminar for everybody across campus. So Comm 100W and Comm 40, argumentation and advocacy. I also have the pleasure of being able to teach other classes as well. So right now I'm teaching Comm 182P, which is communication in the classroom. I'm very passionate, especially about 100W, for various reasons. It's a class that a lot of people aren't very enthusiastic about taking, mostly because they have a lot of anxiety about their writing based on previous classes and just how they feel overall about writing in general, especially in an academic setting. I love teaching it because I love being able to talk about strategies with students and seeing them grow. I don't expect that people will love writing by the end, but it's hard not to see some enthusiasm from students when things start to click, and that they're able to use these strategies outside of the classroom as well. And we talk a lot about how the kind of writing we're doing in that class transfers into other areas of their lives, especially the workplace. Argumentation advocacy is very much the same way. I like the class a lot because it's about how can you have kind of difficult conversations with other people in a constructive way. And so what are some strategies? Again, it always goes back to effective communication, which is how can you have these conversations, because it's better for us to have these conversations than not. 182P is a fantastic class that I love teaching just because it allows students to be both students and teachers at the same time and think about what that relationship is like and how it allows them, I think, in many ways to reflect upon their previous experiences as students, but see it from a teacher perspective. So those are the classes that I teach most frequently, and I love teaching. So if you are near the end of your academic journey and about to graduate, that's fantastic, congratulations. Also know that that comes with a good bit of anxiety, and that is completely natural. It's really hard to prepare for what's going to happen after your classes. So a couple pieces of advice that I have there. Number one, to remember that it is completely natural to be anxious about starting a new journey in your life. And it might not happen as smoothly as you would like it to, but eventually it will pass. Another thing that I think is important that I have found really useful in my journey has been to not compare your experience to other people. Some people that you've been interacting with in your classes maybe are more full-time worker than student, and so the transition for them is going to be different. But don't feel like you are a step behind, maybe because you haven't figured things out. Another thing that I think is useful is the end of the academic career is usually when we start thinking about what we could have done differently. And while I don't think that's a unhelpful process, I think at that stage it is not really doing anything for you. That is, I think it's useful to think about the present and think not about I could have done this internship, or I could have done this a year ago, or I could have taken this class, because it's not a productive process. Instead, it's a lot of what am I going to do now? What would I like to do now? And then you can always think about that stuff later. But in the moment, it's very stressful, and I would recommend not doing that. Other strategies that I would recommend would be getting a mentor. That can be especially your teachers, but it can be pretty much anybody who maybe is more closely aligned with what you might want to do. So for me, after I went to college, I kind of got lost, honestly. There was a pretty big gap between me getting my undergraduate degrees and then going for my master's degree. And I did not know what to do. And so the main thing that really helped me was finding somebody who had just completed her master's program. And she shepherded me through the process and really helped me to better understand things. Even if you don't have that specific kind of figure in your life, talking to another instructor or somebody who can kind of help you to brainstorm ways of moving forward and maybe that have more experience is useful. Even now as an instructor, I still have mentors that help me along the process. So that has been that's something that I still rely on. And I think that is also maybe useful to know too, that it's not like now that you're done with having mentors, you're not going to have anybody to ask advice from. In most instances, that's not the case. People are usually happy to help you, and it's about reaching out and making those relationships work for you. So one last piece of advice that I would offer is, if you think that it's too late to do something, it's not. It's not too late. Now is the time for you to do it. Living in the present is really important. Feeling like that you should have done something the year before or something along those lines is not going to do you any good. Know that it's not too late to go forward, ask questions, and get answers and be able to work from there. So I hope this has been useful for you. I hope to see you around campus. My office is always open.